What's going on, gamers? So now we have some opposite news of Microsoft bringing even more games to PlayStation. But what games? And then there's going to be what's going on to Nintendo as well, right? What is Microsoft going to be doing with that? So we got a lot of answers here. We got State of Decay 3 popping up too because we haven't heard about this in a while. But we haven't really heard anything negative from Undead Labs. They've just been quiet, and we know that they're good developers and they work on their games for a long time. Now we got Gears of War E-Day here. So right here, Rhino, not just him, but a lot of other posts are saying Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3 may be coming to PlayStation 5. Do you want these games on PlayStation? Source, multiplayer first. Then we have what WCCF Tech says as well, along with Inside Gaming. And we know Tom writes stuff as well. So, yeah, it's going to get interesting. Let's get ready to get into this, like, comments, subscribe. So, he says, I don't think it's going to be day one on PlayStation. Yes, it will. Because Microsoft's strategy is full blown like that. So these games, including the PlayStation community or the Nintendo community, if they can include them, I don't see why they wouldn't, because they want those first party sales like they would get on their consoles by doing that, along with having the option for Game Pass and for Xbox players and PC users if they want to use that too. You know what I mean? So you know, I don't see Nadalia now knowing full blown after everything we figured out this past week and before. I don't see him changing that. Definitely after knowing that some people are actually joining in. I think that he wants to fully blown push that as much as possible, because this means that Sony is not. I just thought about this too. Sony is not going to let them get a publishing more advantage over on them. That also means Sony's publishing is now increasing, because we know Nintendo's publishing is going to skyrocket because of all their games. So I think both of them are realizing that. It doesn't matter, just do it. You know what I mean? To make your publishing look better. So yeah, you saying that that's not going to be day one is just not really understanding that now more than ever that that's an irrelevant statement. So I thought State of Decay 3 was vaporware. No, that's Undead Labs. Um, so definitely Gears. There's huge potential for this, like millions on PlayStation and even on Nintendo. Like I just don't see them not. They're going to try to find a way. So that's starting off on that. Now, going over here, we see the same thing. State of Decay 3 and Gears E-Day coming to PlayStation 5 report claims. Same thing again, right? So Xbox games are timed exclusives now. That's hilarious. Dude, no, that would be Sony. Um, Now, if they want to play that game later on, we'll see. But we keep getting reports here, once again. It has been claimed that both State of Decay 3 and Gears of War E-Day will launch on PlayStation 5 when they both surface. While some might see the news as being fairly obvious, given Microsoft's stance in putting games on as many platforms as possible, we're yet to have any solid confirmation that either of these games would appear on PlayStation. Oh, trust me, they're coming. Pony, sit down. We know that Gears of War Reloaded, got to catch them when they don't expect it, is heading to the PlayStation 5. Crack that whip. Get ready. Whole slate, which makes it multi-platform. It makes it not that far a leap to assume that Gears of War E-Day would also release on a platform. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. It's going to happen, I'm telling you. We'll State of Decay 3 be on PlayStation 5, and I just don't see why they wouldn't do that. It doesn't make sense to me. Those are games that where it's like you want them to sell very well. They fit that regimen too. Third person. Come on, man. PlayStation World. Now, going over here is where we get some other answers, and then we're going to get into a video too with Christopher Dring and Matt Piscatella. WCCF Tech had a post here that says the recent wave of Xbox releasing games that would have previously been platform exclusives on PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2 have only further solidified that Xbox isn't trying to move up the ladder, it's trying to hang on to some level of market share. Some people are probably not going to like that post, I can understand. Now going down here, it says people who buy a hardware system these days, they're doing it because of the ecosystem, because of their friends list. When I saw this, I was like, okay, he's saying it's based off of Matt Piscatella. You're not going to let people you're not going to get people to transition consoles because of exclusives anymore. We're way beyond that point. If you talk about the people today, yeah, it's different with them. It's account tying and all that, and socializing and all that. So going over here is where we get an insight of where that's going to go, and we're about to get into this and get some more answers. So let's get into this. Here we go.
So in Activision, it's just the king on Xbox, and obviously now it's on PlayStation. Still in the top 5, creeping up in the annual chart as well. That's Xbox's multi-platform strategy, really, paying off. We've seen like CFEs doing really well initially on PlayStation as well. So, and this one seems to have some real legs. It feels like a proper fit for the, racing games are popular on all franchises, but on all platforms. But it's different to the Gran Turismo as well as an IP. I have to caveat this. My brother works for Playground Games, so I'm obviously very pleased to see a Playground Games title do very well in the charts. But although he's working on Fable, but it seems to have done very well. It seems to show that strategy is working.
Yeah, we've been seeing this now for about a year or so now, where these, no matter who makes them, the cross-platform ports are generally, every month you're seeing some new game pop up that's been gone for a while. And you're like, well, how'd that happen? Well, it came out on another platform. You look at Stellar Blade at number 5 on the month, came out on PC, was 185th on the main chart, jumped to 5th because of the PC release. So there's these opportunities for everyone, to bring their content to more players. I mean, people who buy a hardware system these days, they're doing it because of the ecosystem, because of their friends list. Like, you're not going to get people to buy or transition boxes because of exclusives anymore. That's just, we're way beyond that point. Like,
yeah, that's what we're talking about, what he said. Now, when he said this, there was a lot of people, of course, they didn't like that. But it goes back to what I was saying. Outside of the Nintendo world, and I've been telling people this for months. Remember, I said exclusives don't have the power like they used to. In their world, it still matters, big time. And it matters greatly for gaming. Gaming needs that big time because of the health that they provide of sales and everything, just only in their ecosystem. But outside of that, most people that are growing up today, they're not going to see things like that because it's hard for them to grow up like that. It's a totally different dimension with the free-to-play and all that. They're more interested in their profiles. You know what I mean? They're more interested, like you said, in their friends list and the ecosystem. It is like that. They don't really think like that. That's for people who've been in the gaming industry long, like we have, that have seen all of this. We're more knowledgeable than them, and we have a lot more awareness on a lot of things. They're going to go on the way they've been programmed and trained by the industry at the moment they entered it, which was different compared to us. Obviously, we've adjusted to their demographics, and we understand the focus of the casuals and, in that type of aspect, which I obviously don't like, but we still have to understand what that means. And so if you give that to them, definitely with market conditions for human beings and real life conditions where things are getting so expensive, gas, food and all that, they are thinking about just that device where they can do all that, or they'll stay on this type of game and have to spend anything else. It is a common thing today, and also being exploited a lot too in a lot of ways. It's not good. But yeah, I mean, Matt Piscatella, this is the guy I was telling you about who talks about sales. Both of these are sales guys, UK, NA, but Matt, he's been with Activision and everything, so he knows his stuff. He just tells you the truth.
Like, people are entrenched into their systems, and bringing the content to them is the only way to win.
Yeah,
and that's what everyone's doing except for Nintendo. They kind of do their own thing.
Yeah.
But even they could benefit from it. But of course, like, they won't. That's not their MO. So
no.
Yeah, for them it's interesting. You've got
there was a saying where it says the day Nintendo goes third party is the day they're finished. Funny stuff. And just imagine that seriousness of a Japanese person saying that with their pride. That's Nintendo.
What I love the most when you talk about PlayStation, Xbox, is all about going to PC. And every time I talk about Nintendo, it seems to be the mobile. So there's that Pokemon Friends game yesterday, mobile and Switch too. There's a lot of that.
Don't do that.
But it's interesting. People talk about them being entrenched into the digital ecosystem and their communities, and I think that's probably true. But I think what's also true is we've got so much stuff to play and watch and listen and read. We're so much stuff. Even if there's a game I like that's on a platform I don't own, or I'm really interested in playing that, I can't really justify buying that device. Because the current device I've got like 100 things I've not played that I also really want to play. And so even if I was tempted to switch device, it has to be an incredibly good reason for me to go to something else as a gamer. But not because it's because I've just I'm not short of entertainment. I think there was a time there was scarcity of things to play, and now there just isn't. And
there isn't all the form of entertainment you need on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Crunchyroll, Disney World, all the stuff on Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, Nintendo Switch Online, then all their games on all their platforms. I mean, you're loaded. PC too. It's an overload, but it's not bad. It's good because you're not short on anything.
Isn't. And now with everything playing Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, which is the baseline expectation that, the
Well,
main, someone's main live service game, all of the other games are basically frosting on the cake at this point. The in the US at least, the top 10 live service games suck up half of all gaming time every month, and every other game's got to fight for the remainder of that. So like,
that's what I was telling people. I hate the free to play garbage, microtransactions, getting the developers to focus on microtransactions, getting almost 50% of the gaming industry hijacked on that and feeding the gambling machine. I was like, it's terrible, man. And they're not focusing on anything else. That's what people think, like, man, they're smart. I was like, no, not really, bro. They're not. They're weaker. They're not, their wise statement is it's not what you think. It's like, they can't control themselves. And then look at, because of that generation too, look at the gotchas. Like, it's not good. They're exploiting the hell out of them. It's bad. That's why I was like, it was terrible when I realized somebody could spend $400, $500, $600,000 on one video game. I was like, God damn, man, now they've lost their minds.
yeah, this is all nice to have stuff. When you look at it at the most fundamental level, especially on the PlayStation and Xbox platforms,
Exactly. Like I've been telling people,
bringing that content to where people are is the only way you're going to be able to win in an environment like we're looking at right now. So yeah, Forza being this strong, I mean, that's great. If they come out day one across systems, that really bodes well for its next iteration.
yes, I agree with him. Like I said, I think Forza Horizon 5, they're going to try to work on a Switch version. They're talking about games coming to Nintendo consoles in the headline. I think Microsoft's working on that very heavy right now and getting everything ready for Nintendo as well. And in the process, work with them and understand handheld markets more and stuff like that. There's always ways benefits can happen if they've done this before. So I look forward to seeing how that's going to happen. Like I said, I always want all aspects of gaming to improve. I want all three to do very well and be very competitive in whatever dimension they can be competitive in. You know what I mean? It gets more exciting that way. So, but ponies are having it very hard right now.
And every game finding its way to multiple storefronts and ecosystems. I mean, that's how you're going to survive and win.
Yeah. And not even just to other platforms, but to cinema, to...
That's what I said about Xbox. I'm trying to survive. Everything I tell you, I'm not making up anything. I say this for a reason. And I don't mean by survive like Microsoft's going broke, but more like Nadale's like, that game is over with. If this is not going to work, you know what I mean? Like, we got to do it this way. This is the way to survive. And then we're going to be making money this way rather than trying to play the exclusive game and win. I don't want to play that game because it's not going to work for us. We're too far in the ditch with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to work. I mean, he's right about that. It's not. Though that's what people would want, but it's like, it's possible to recover from that. They've tried everything you could. If they can't do it that way, dumping all that money, boy, that's telling you, no, that's over with permanently. This is the only way. Like I say, he's a business guy. He's made Microsoft even more rich. He's going to find ways to make more money. He will be successful at that. I don't doubt that.
Other forms of products and Lego, whatever. You also did a full year chart, which, I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds was at number 1, which didn't surprise me. Yeah. And I knew it did really well when it launched. I saw it did. But Elder Scrolls Oblivion, at number 2, ahead of Assassin's Creed, well, ahead of everything, really. That's tremendous for a remaster. I mean, incredibly, the studio behind it did some layoffs this last month, which, you know, I understand these things aren't always directly related, but for me, it's but mad because of how that game's done. But it just goes to show the demand for a new Elder Scrolls that might be out there.
It does, and it also is another.
Yeah, because Avowed was, please. So when Oblivion came, people had the expectations that it was going to be optimized. That's the disappointment of that. Once the Unreal Engine 5, not the game itself. That game has made me so... That engine has made me so mad this generation. We have so much more content, but we also have potentials that have just been squandered, where it's like, dude, this is my first experience. This is my way of entering it for the first time. Sometimes that just puts a dent where it's like, no. Like, for a long time, maybe. And it's just annoying. But yeah, it sold very well. That demand there is very high. Because Western RPGs and everything in general have just been very disappointment. Very disappointing, and people really want that Western forefront to strengthen. Microsoft has the opportunity to do that, because the Asians are just carrying too hard. Definitely Japan, China's rising up too. South Korea's around the corner. Western society definitely needs to strengthen and manage their budgets and stop laying off and all that nonsense. But yeah, we get a lot of answers here about stuff coming to Switch 2 and all that, as they were talking about. And like I said, I know for sure it's going to be stuff like Indiana Jones, stuff you already see that went to PlayStation. Microsoft's preparing that right now for the Switch 2. It's going to happen. We can finish this off real quick. Not the whole thing, but just see a little bit more what they're saying.
Another just reminder that people love playing the games they love. And if you give them an opportunity to return to a game that maybe they haven't played in a decade or more, they're going to show up. Especially if you do a decent job on the remaster or the remake. I think there was some conversation online yesterday about how the remasters and remakes are making it so new games can't be made, which is just not at all how it works. Like,
no,
but this is another example of a market demand for this type of content. And so people are trying to meet it.
It's the maturity of the industry. If you look at film and TV and you look at, in the 80s, right? Back to the Future, one of the biggest movies of the 80s, set in the 50s, right? This idea of going back 20, it's a modern thing. It appeals to modern people, but if you get an idea of sort of going back 20 years, 30 years in some cases, really can work, because you've got people who are now in their 30s or 40s who are nostalgic for their youth, that are interested in playing that. They're interested in maybe showing their kids that. You've got that sort of thing. In the 90s, it was Austin Powers. In the 60s, right? You've got these sort of trends. It happens in other forms of entertainment. The X-Files reboot happened, all these sort of things, the Jurassic World coming back, all those sort of things.
No, he's right, though, if you do it right. That's why I tell people Nintendo's successful for that, because they're that good and they give you good games. And you could get a next-gen aspect of something you loved a long time ago, and then people that are growing up today, because they weren't able to be there in that era, will get to experience that game, but up to date. And then if they want to go back to the classic, they can get that experience too, and then go to that one. There's always different audiences to reach, plus the current audiences to play the previous version. So it is something important. Definitely remakes. Just don't abuse the remaster aspect like Sony is. Like, give people a real remaster. But yeah, I mean, that says a lot about what also can be coming to other platforms, like I said on the side. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. This year is the most insane year in gaming, positively and negatively, if y'all know what I mean. Let me know what you guys think about this. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out. You have a great day. Ponies. Sit down.